All right, in a second here, you're going to hear from Josh Belanger, who built a 350,000 name list on Substack. He's being interviewed by Andrew Keene, founder of Alpha Shark. A lot of you guys know Andrew is not just a great editor in the industry. He's worked with some of the larger companies like Agora, some of their different imprints. He also runs Alpha Shark, and he's, like I said, he's been MC at FMS for a few years, and he's awesome. He wanted to start doing some interviews for the channel for everybody and kind of talk across FinPub from his perspective, and I thought that was a great idea. It's part of something that I'd love to do more, which is get more of you guys involved in kind of the conversations. And so he interviewed Josh about his experience in the industry, his experience in building his business, working with larger publishers while running his own thing, kind of his decision-making process on why he went over to Substack and kind of what's worked for him over at Substack and how that kind of like that situation works for him in terms of like building a large list there. So it's a great interview, it's a great conversation, and you're going to be hearing more from Andrew on a regular basis as part of this, and especially as I start to ramp content back up here in conversations. I've been in the dark on a couple, kind of working on some big projects that I'll be announcing soon, but enjoy this interview. It's really interesting to hear one publisher interviewing another publisher about kind of what they've been doing the last couple of years here. I think you'll find a lot from it. So enjoy. All right, take care. Bye.
All right, how's everybody doing? Andrew Keene here. If you don't know me, I'm kind of John Newson's unpaid intern or sidekick, and I'll be taking over a lot of his interviews. John does a great job on the interviews, but I'm trying to get him to be a little bit more consistent with putting out content and also have a schedule. So going forward, I'll be interviewing multiple people in this industry, from copywriters to gurus to media buyers to anybody that we think can give you guys some valuable information. So I'm here with Josh Belanger, who I've probably known for about 15 years. He'll be my first interview. We're going to do like 15-minute segments. So the first 15 minutes, we're going to just talk about Josh and his background. The next, we're going to do two 15-minute segments of Substack, because in my opinion, Josh has kind of cracked the code better than anybody in our industry as a guru. And the last 15 minutes, we'll kind of go through Q&A. So Josh, why don't you tell me about your background, where you started, and what you've done over the last, how long have you been in the industry? 20 years?
Professional and on the non-professional side, over 20 years, more than half my life. I started in the pits when I was about 20 years old, so that's where I first started.
What exchange did you start at?
The Mercantile Exchange.
Okay. So you were at the Mercantile
I was running.
Exchange. Out of college, you worked at the Mercantile Exchange?
Well, I went to college for about a week, and then I dropped out. At that time, I wanted to be a professional wrestler, so I was training like WWE stuff. I was training for a couple years, and I was wrestling on the independents. So the way that I supported myself was delivering pizza and wrestling on the weekend. So at the pizza place I was working at one day, my boss had said, it'd be cool one day if I was a stockbroker, and that was kind of my aha moment of getting into the industry. So that was when I was living in Waukegan, which is outside the suburbs here in Chicago. So next door to the pizza place was an Everett Jones office, and pimple-faced kid walks in there and says, "Hey, how do I become a stockbroker?" So he's like, "Hey, you're gonna have to get a Series 7. Do you have that?" I'm like, "No." "Do you have a book of business?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, I used to work on the Mercantile Exchange. I used to work on the floor. I think that's probably your best bet." So then I had cold called every place in the exchange. I finally got an opportunity working as a runner there.
And how long were you at the Merc for?
At that time, I was about a year. And then I went to an options desk from there. And then I went to a couple different firms.
Okay. Did you trade on the floor, or were you a runner on the floor?
No, I was never a trader. I was only a runner. At the time, everything was going to electronic. Even though I didn't know anything about the industry or the business at the time, on the aspect of open outcry, I understood that, but I understood at the same time of how thin the pits were getting at that time as well. So there's a lot of clerks, a lot of runners that were like there for years, and I thought to myself, that's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a stockbroker because I saw Boiler Room. That's what I wanted to be.
That was my favorite movie in college too. So then you were trading off floor, and then what were you trading off floor?
I never traded on the floor.
Off the floor.
So I was off the floor. So I went to another firm at the options, and then I went through the junior broker route, and became a broker, and then from there I made a transition to the trade desk.
Okay, and you were trading. What were you trading? What product?
Well, the boutique firm, we were trading everything. We did IPOs. We're part of a syndicate, so we had that. We made markets on NASDAQ stocks. We traded options, traded bonds. So I was in charge of I ran on the trade desk there. I ran pretty much everything.
Okay. And then next path in the career after that. So you were there for how long?
So I was in the industry for probably 4 or 5 years. The firm I worked at was on Wall Street Warriors, at the same time when Tim on that season. And then the financial crisis happened. So I started to manage money. That's where I wanted to go. And I left the industry. And on the aspect of trying to get clients, that's where I started to publish information about options in 2008, 2009. I was using it as an avenue to talk about options, because still at that time, when I would cold call or talk to clients, I mean, options were just like still a taboo. It's completely different now, but talking about options, oh no, that's risky or that's crazy. Or clients at that time didn't really understand it. So that's where I started Option Sizzle and started publishing information about options, unusual option activity, and so forth.
Yeah, because I remember that I was on the floor from technically 01, and then 9/11 happened. I got pushed back. I started on the floor in 02. I was down there to 2011, and then when I left the floor in 11, I Googled top 100 financial blogs, because in 2011 blogs got really popular, and I remember I came across you and I reached out to you, and that's when I basically skeleton my whole business model from John Carter. And every time I see him, I tell him, like, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life after the trading floor. I didn't want to work for a broker, and I was like, what do I do? So I started myself as a blog, and I remember you had the blog like a couple years before me. So did you get any business from the blog, and what at the time, what kind of avenues of social media were you using? Because Instagram didn't exist then, TikTok didn't exist then.
Well, at the time, Twitter was the hot thing that was growing, and I was early on Twitter, and I had a lot of growth from that. So, I mean, coming into publishing, I didn't understand anything about publishing. I mean, I came from the professional side. I was licensed. And then just in 2008, it was just a hard time in the industry. And at the time, there was another group out there talking about unusual option activity. I understood what they were doing.
Who was that?
Well, I'm not going to say their name because there was another group out there, and I knew where their office was. I went in there to talk with them to see if there was an opportunity. They never got back to me, so that's what started Option Sizzle. And then they didn't really like that, and then that started a legal process between me and them. So I didn't understand the nuances of publishing going into it. So I didn't understand what WordPress was. I didn't understand a lot of things. I just started writing about options and unusual option activity and providing trades, just because I thought, trades are going to pave the way. People want to make money trading options.
And then did you get clients from the blog and Twitter?
I got clients from Twitter. So Twitter was early on success for me because at the time, if you remember in the financial crisis, there's banks going out left and right. New York Community Bank was a stock that I pitched, which is funny. I was pitching this stock, New York Community Bank, for clients when I was at one of the firms. And if you think about it as like a front-end promo, that's kind of what stock pitching is for junior brokers. It's to get an account open. It's not to make the money. It's not to lose the money. It's just to get the account open. So at the firm, we had two stocks I was only able to pitch. It was Chesapeake Energy and New York Community Bank. And the Chesapeake Energy pitch was on Aubrey because of an insider buying and his timely buys. And New York Community Bank was just kind of like a dividend safe stock. So when it was late December, it was on a Friday, all of a sudden I see this call buying in New York Community Bank. I knew that stock like the back of my hand. So all of a sudden I see this buying and I'm like, that's really odd. Well, come to be, so I flagged it, come to be after the bell rang, they acquired assets from another bank. Next day, those options went from 25 cents to like $1.50, $2.50, which on Monday. But at that time, it was so early in Twitter that I got the attention of a New York Post writer who then contacted me, and that was my first quote in media at the time, was the New York Post, which then progressed into give me some other opportunities in the Wall Street Journal and all the other media outlets out there.
Okay, so then you ran the blog for a while, and then next path of your career went to?
I was doing that for some time. And eventually in 2017, 2018, I got into Agora. I started working with them. So I was doing the blog and I was doing it, and I was making money from it. But understanding the publishing industry, I just saw it as a kind of, to be fair and to be honest, as a professional, we knew about publishing, and you kind of looked down on it. You looked down on a Stansberry publication because we could see the order flow come in at any time, and we understood what was going on, that they're pushing ideas. But I wouldn't say, I think it's a little bit different now, but on the professional side, it's a little bit beneath you. And to think that you would go that route is kind of different. You have a bit of an arrogance that, I'm a trader or I'm a professional and I know this industry and so forth. So, for so long, I kind of stayed away from it, thinking that it was kind of, I wouldn't say silly, or just, I was ignorant to the whole aspect of it. But then eventually in 2017, I went to Agora to try to understand the industry and try to understand exactly how the nuances of this business work.
And you were at AF, right?
Yeah. So I was at Agora Financial. I was a guru.
Okay. And how long?
And I worked.
How long were you at Agora for?
About 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I always said that when I signed my first contract, I signed with AF. I don't even know what year it was. It was probably around there, but I was at Paradigm, and I got no bandwidth because Paradigm signed Sykes and Kurosaki right after me. So obviously, I think I'm a big name in the industry, but compared to Sykes and Kurosaki, I'm nobody. So I got no bandwidth. So I was at Agora for about 7 years, and I was at 3 different divisions: AF, Money Map, and then Banyan. And I always said, like, every time I had to sign a contract, I was drawing a little bit of blood. Like, I felt myself too that, like, like I used to see the Stansberry orders too, and like they would recommend a gold option. They did gold or silver option every week, recommended by Stansberry. And the option, as the stock physically didn't move, it was like a $10 stock, but the option would go from 50 to 80 cents just because, a Stansberry put it out as a buy recommendation. And as, a trader who understands derivatives, no option implied volatility should go from 50 cents to 80 cents on the option unless it's a drug announcement or like earnings or a takeover candidate, or like New York Community Bank thing. And it was just crazy. I was just like, who are these people? You get a buy recommendation at 50 cents and then you're buying it at 80 cents? Like, I don't go into a car dealership and say the car is 50,000, I'll give you 80,000 for it. Like, it was ridiculous. And then I was at Agora for me, and I will tell anybody, was a perfect fit for me. Like, I like doing content, I like coming up with products, I like trading, but I don't want any to do in the back end infrastructure. And as I explain it to people that don't understand Agora, I say almost as a licensing deal, right? Use my name, use my brand, use my products, and I take a little small piece of the pie. So, I was there for a while, and I loved my experience there, and I'm happy I was kind of part of it. And then you were at AAF for like 2 or 3 years, and then have you been with another publisher since then, or where have you gone since then?
Yeah, I worked with Wealth Press early on in the beginning, and that was during the COVID crisis. So we had something out of there, and it was kind of a unique time for doing a promo from my office at the time, because that was never done. You always had to fly in to do any kind of filming or so forth. So that was the first time that we did a promo like that, which was kind of I forget that. It was kind of like in a dark room. It's kind of like a mysterious thing. But yeah, so I worked with Wealth Press for a little bit of time. They had some hiccups that they had to overcome, and then I went on my own. So I went and worked with another smaller couple different publishers. But the thing with working with the publishers, you learn a lot. The other aspect of it is you just don't have control of distribution, as you said. So that was a frustrating thing. And it's a partnership, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just understanding the relationship. So I was taking the eye off of my own business, my own publishing, just because you only have so much bandwidth, and you make some money, but then when things don't go, because it's a boom and bust business, just like the regular professional side, market cycles. So when it, comes and it slows down a bit, there's people that have to get cut, and it's usually the lower hanging fruit, because the big money guys that can gain attention, that have traction, they're not gonna go anywhere. So, you're one of the first ones to see the door, And then you're kind of like, well, how am I going to make some money again?
Yeah, I mean, if I look at my path, it was, the trading floor to my company started as Keen on the Market, which we rebranded to Alpha Shark, and then we did well. And then when I was with Agora, I totally neglected my own internal business, and it wasn't because I had bandwidth. It's just because I guess I was lazy, and I should have been focusing more on my internal business. And because Agora didn't have to make me shut it down or anything, I could keep running it. But I was just like, I'm going to Baltimore to film all the time. I have to, get on calls all the time with copywriters, and like I neglected my whole business. And now I'm almost restarting. I'm now, I have these leads and customers, but we're starting from scratch again. I'm not with a publisher. I've been with a publisher for like 3 years. So like I'm trying to reinvent myself, I guess. There's all these kids, as I call them, that are on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm really close with the WAP guys. And there's guys on there that we've never heard of that are doing close to $1 million a month, which is insane.
Yeah.
And which is right on the perfect 15 minutes right now. That brings us to the main topic I wanted to kind of discuss with you, because I feel like you kind of cracked the code for Substack. I have been on Substack. I've got no traction. I've been on WAP. I haven't got much traction. So talk to me about Substack, what you've done with it, how you do it. Just kind of give me an overview, and then I can kind of like ask questions from there.
The Substack was a little bit of a double up, but it was kind of the same thing as you. When working at other firms like Agora, on the professional side, we have this, you're built into this just by going through compliance and everything. You have like a moral compass, and you have a conflict of interest. That's what the whole industry is based off of, conflict of interest on the professional side. So when I was working at Agora or these other firms, I just felt that was a conflict of interest of not focusing on that business and not my own, because that was just, to me, a conflict of interest. But it wasn't the right choice, as you had mentioned as well. And you kind of find yourself doing things, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, the road's end, and now what? Like I was saying a couple minutes ago, like, how am I going to make money? So with what we do in publishing, there's two things: editorial and distribution. So early on with Twitter, I had distribution. I was able to get traction, but the game changed, and I didn't change with that game. Twitter from early on, it was completely different and is different than it is now on X, which, it's a lot of outrage and so forth. It's just understanding the platform. So with Substack specifically, I stumbled across it because I took a little bit of a list that I had and went on to reactivate it, essentially. And so I went on there because first it's easy to get, it's free. The other thing I knew about that too, so one of the questions is like, why don't you do it on the other competitor, which is pretty popular? The reason why is Substack is free. And it's also, if you think about like branding wise, I started to realize that people who say they have a Substack say they have a Substack, not a blog or anything else. So aligning my brand with Substack was mutually benefit, because there's a aspect of being a publisher and publishing on it. So I saw that early on. So I was just started publishing, and I had started a newsletter, started publishing daily. I was going to do it kind of like a traditional, like a morning brew style, but a little bit of a twist. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to publish or get sponsorships from like Tasty Trade or some on the professional side to get in front of that audience. Well, the issue that I had was that they consider me an influencer, because of my face on the brand, my name and so forth. And if you brand yourself as, like Alpha Shark, that's a brand that they can get behind because there's not Keene's face on it. But if it's Belanger Trading or Josh Belanger and it's a face, well, they're going to say that's a influencer, and still you're going to run into regulatory issues. So I just started and just started publishing the newsletter. And the interesting thing about Substack is that it's a platform on its own, and it's unique. And even though I wasn't able to get the sponsorships on Substack, you start to get, even though I wasn't asking people to join, I was just publishing the daily free editorial that I learned how to do at Agora. People on the bottom of every Substack is, even if you don't ask and have something to sign up for, it's like, hey, do you want to support this writer? Do you want to support this person? Here's how to pledge, essentially. I started having people pledging like $8 a month, $10 a month. So I'm like, this is interesting. So essentially, it just kind of snowballed from there of just publishing, growing, people sharing on the platform, and the other aspects of it as well. You talked about Instagram, is understanding these platforms. I've had some success on Instagram specifically, and a little bit on TikTok, but more specifically Instagram, where I've had some viral clips go out where I've gotten about 20 million views just myself on clips I didn't really think so. And we've also had some success. Instagram.
You've had views at 20 million? That's good.
Yeah. I've had one of the most. I've been on very popular on Reddit, popular on some of the, like the Fruru sites and so forth like that. Of like there's a clip about me talking about an option position. It was weird. It was from the Money Show, and I cut it in a way that I thought it was going to get some attention, but I didn't think it was going to get that much attention. But yeah. So I started learning the platforms are there. So I've been able to take some of that and get an audience from that, use automation to get them into Substack as well. So I've had some different areas pulling people into getting onto the email list and using some of those tactics.
Okay, so because I've tried to crack the code in Substack, very unsuccessful. So if you're like a guru, like we've both been gurus, we're both on the floor, we were both at Agora for a while. You're starting a Substack from scratch, right? So how often do you create content for Substack? How much are you using a ChatGPT or Gemini? Do you actually have a product attached? How do you funnel them down from free to $9 a month to all the way down? You've created a successful business from Substack, correct?
In the beginning, yes. Substack I stumbled across, and I did pretty well. It's been a good partnership. I'm transitioning to a more traditional publishing model. Just comes with some of the nuances with having multiple products on Substack is a little
How many products
tough. I don't have any on there now. I just have the free. I just have the free e-letter. I started to add different products, traditional services, traditional publishing on there. It just gets really messy. You almost have to have different Substack. You have to have Substack, different separate Substacks. So if you had Andrew Keene Options Trading 101, that would have to be a one completely different Substack. And then if you had Andrew Keene Options Insider, that would be a completely separate Substack. So if you try to have one Substack with multiple things in there, it's really challenging.
You have one newsletter for Belanger Trading for Substack.
That's how it originally started, yes.
And then how many?
So from there, people started to pledge and started giving me monthly pledges of my work. So from there, it started growing and growing and growing and growing. And then I started to add on what would be called now Options Insider. However, once I started to add on different things in there, people would get confused of what they actually get versus kind of the free content. So it became a little bit of a headache down the road. But it started just as me publishing daily content, which is what your question is. So how do you gain traction? It's daily. It's just you have to continuously print out something every day and just keep going.
I've read yours. Yours are long. How many words are you putting out a day?
So on the daily content, I usually keep it about 600 to 800 words.
Yeah, that's pretty healthy. And then
so in the beginning, I was doing a little bit more of longer newsletters that were a little bit longer. But now I do it completely. The earlier model was more like a morning brew. What I do now and what I've been doing for the last year is daily Agora style, Stansberry style editorial, one idea, one focus, one theme. Give the reader something that they feel and that that they're not getting on TV, that they're getting some kind of inside information, talking to their desires and their needs. It's understanding the reader as well and giving them that insight.
Do you specifically put it out at a certain day and time every day, or you just kind of whenever it goes out?
I publish usually later at night. That's where I found a little bit of success on Substack, later in the evening. But you can schedule, it's like any other platform. You can schedule anytime you want. It's more tapping into the network. I had the other day, I get the sharing aspect of Substack is underrated, where a lot of people don't know. Once you start to gain some momentum, people will start sharing your articles. They restack them, it's called. I get hundreds of leads every month from that alone, just from people restacking and people signing up.
So I was just looking at your Substack here. It says you have like 339,000 subscribers, correct? And those are free then, right?
Those are all free on Substack, yeah.
Do you have access to those email addresses or no?
You have access to all the email addresses of active people. People that unsubscribe, I haven't figured out a way that you get access to those. That's the downside if you wanted to track that on Substack, but you're not able. If you join Substack, Keene, and then you unsubscribe, if I didn't download it, let's say you join today, I download my file today, your name's on there, but tomorrow you unsubscribe, your name won't, and I download that file, your name won't show up, but I also don't have access to that unsubscribe.
So it's almost like you almost have to download the list every day so you don't lose those.
Pretty much, if you want to keep track of unsubscribes, but you know, it's a little cumbersome, and if someone unsubscribes, then
how often do you scrub the list then?
I scrub it and get inactives out there every month. So at one point I had over 500,000, but I unsubscribed a lot of them, or ones that fall off, I clean off. But I download the list about once every week.
Okay, so you've gotten a good following on Substack, and then it's almost a snowball effect, right? So like, I look at it as like
I became one of the best. I became one of the best sellers on there.
Okay, so then, how have you monetized 336,000 on Substack? And I don't know Substack that well, but it's like one of the biggest I've seen personally. So have you been able to monetize that besides people just doing random donations? Do you then take
we started. I wouldn't say the random donations. It's sponsoring your work. Okay. So it's not like a traditional model. So it's for writers who are not aggressive of selling something. You know, like, hey, sign up for this. So they make it where people can support it, and that's the whole platform of Substack. And it's the unique thing is that people are appreciative of your work, so they're willing to support you, and it helps you early on, and it helped me kind of understand, like, oh, actually there is value here. So people started at $8, and I started to increase from 8, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I went all the way up to on a monthly basis. I went all the way up to $100, and then I went annually and tried that. So I tested a lot of different price points. I tested a lot of different offers of using annual, and different price points on there. So now I have it at like $3,500, and that's just because I don't want people to join. I run internally traditional offers directly to them to get them signing up for trading services and so forth.
So once you have these, so you email these, you take the emails, and you can, in theory, take the emails every day of people subscribing. You do it once a week. Do you then take the emails and you try to run offers to them off Substack, or you put them in an internal email drip campaign on your own?
You can, on Substack, you can send direct emails that are not published to different audiences if you choose to. So if you want to run a dedicated email of like an offer, you can without having to publish it. I traditionally just publish my ideas, so I usually use content. I'm big on content marketing. So if I run an offer, it's usually the content in there is usually a call to offer or setting up for something specific. So a couple months ago, I was running an offer for what's called 48-hour cash flow. So I'll create a series. I'll write my whole week of content is focused on 48-hour cash flow and building that to a call to action. So I write content about aspects of how 48-hour cash flow works, but I blend in the content to get the person to open, read it, consume it, and then with a call to action. I have other content, like yesterday I published that is just more of a free pick. So it's talking about Buffett stepping down and some options, option activity on there. Saturday, I'll mix in different offers. So I started with putting in different space ads from different offers from like Porter or from sites from Millionaire Publishing in there. So I started to add in that kind of aspect of revenue generation as well with different space ads. But to specifically answer your question, how Substack, I built Substack to one of the best sellers, and I built that on monthly subscriptions. The reason why I changed that was because the churn is so high that some of the other people, like Peter over at Compound Quality, he was running into the same problem, and I started to notice this, and that's why I shifted back to a normal traditional model, just because that churn is so high. People would join.
What's high? I mean, Agora can go up to 80% on a.
Yeah, but you're getting paid. You're getting paid on a if you charge someone a month.
Yeah.
Versus a year, you're getting more money on the year.
What was your monthly churn on a month over month? Over or under 50%?
Over 50% in some cases, depending on price point. So once you start to get higher in price point, churn becomes higher, obviously. People on the lower price point, they stick around a lot longer. It's kind of like the Planet Fitness model. And my belief is it's because it's so cheap that it doesn't really matter to them. But once you start to increase price, you have to increase what you provide, because people are looking for almost like a magic bullet. And if you're going to sell someone, I learned this a while ago, if you're going to sell someone, you might as well sell them at that moment. It's easy to get someone to sign up for a month. It's harder to get them to sign up for a year. And harder, so if you're going to make a pitch to sign up for a month, you might as well sell them for the year.
Especially if your churn's that high. Yeah, I totally agree.
Because the churn is going to be high, and people would, as my price increased and I provided more, people would join for a month and then cancel.
So what was your monthly price, and what's your yearly price?
On Substack, it went from $8. I went all the way up to $100 a month, and then I went to annual. I went to $1,000, $1,500. So those are all the price points I tested. Now I just have normal backends. I have $1,500. I have backends from $1,500 all the way to $15,000 mentorship.
And then on the back end, like what's the fulfillment side? Like, what do they get for it?
On Substack?
No, like for your back end products. Obviously for $15,000 they get to work with you, but like on the $1,500 one or $1,500 to $3,500,
so
what do you get?
$1,500 kind of like that's options insider. That's kind of like a normal. I would consider a front end-ish. It's kind of like a Porter front end. It's like my normal front end. It's a options insider. They get a pick a week. And it's kind of like a traditional themed story insight with a pick. Then I have Hot Money Trader, which is a more active, unusual option activity service. I have 48-hour cash flow, which is a trade on Wednesday, closes out Friday. I have Capital Trader, which is following politicians. People love it. It's crazy. It feeds it right into their motive. And then I have the Trading Mentorship, which is the $15,000 package, which is a ongoing mentorship from like meeting once a week and some all the insights and so forth. And then I have the kind of like the Porter's Alliance, which is you get all access to all those. So I've shifted from that model and grown into what I'm trying to do now, and growing into is kind of that publisher model.
So would you say it's accurate to say that you've totally reinvented Belanger trading through Substack?
Yeah, like you said, when you started keying on the market and then you went to Alpha Shark and you kind of saw, I mean, that's where I was. I mean, I had a deal with a publisher, a smaller publisher. One day I didn't get paid. It was when we were living in Miami. And, you know, it was nice getting the check every month.
Oh, yeah.
But then all of a sudden you don't get it and they're like, oh yeah, we're not going to continue. Oh, okay, that's great. So I really had to start from over. So that's why I started just Belanger trading, just because
it was more totally, like I said, I've tried Substack, I've been unsuccessful. So you're saying, I mean, if Substack didn't exist, you'd just be grinding away and you kind of like I said, and the whole point I wanted to interview you first, I feel like you've almost cracked the code on Substack, and then you had 339,000 subs on here. which if you wanted to, you could have in theory got all their email addresses. That is now a massive list, right? And these are people that have expressed interest into you. So you've almost reinvented your whole business from just Substack, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's, as I said, it was, I would say dumb luck because I just went over there because I didn't want to pay active campaign anymore. I had a decent, so I'm like, well, if I'm not monetizing it right now, because I was focused on other, the other publishing for other people, why don't I just put them over here? It's free to email them, and I'll just keep emailing them because I do know that keeping in contact is important, and writing them at least. It was also helping me with my own writing. So I would email them, and then all of a sudden it just continuously started growing and growing and growing and growing, and people sharing and growing. And the more it grew, the more I just kept publishing, and it just it's really just kind of lucky, but dumb luck. But yeah, I mean, it's also understanding the platform as well. I make it sound so easy, but it's understanding the platform. The platform is made for publishing. Like Medium is another big a big publishing aspect of it. I just don't understand how you monetize it. You can grow blog. Substack has a good partnership. You get started for free. They start whacking you at that 10%, which starts to add up. That was one of the things that really stings when you start to get to bestseller. You have hundreds of paying people. It's 10% every person. It's on a monthly. If you have a 10%, yeah.
Okay. Have you been able to renegotiate it down because you're following so big now, or no?
I haven't been able to renegotiate. I just went a different avenue. Just going.
Increased it by 15%.
You would just just a different avenue of just publishing directly through my own site.
And then on Substack, so obviously you write 600 to 800 words a day. What percentage of that would you say you're writing from scratch versus using a Gemini or ChatGPT, or where do you find ideas about what you want to publish? Because you said a lot of the stuff you publish is not, on your traditional CNBC or Bloomberg.
So I use AI. I just recently got picked up in Wired and a couple different pieces specifically about AI, how I use AI in Substack, and how I'm one of the top newsletters and so forth. I use AI very openly. AI is not going to be able to replace me. I've worked very hard with AI of training it to write like me, to improve. It's still not there. So a lot of it is still me. I use AI to clean it up, like editorial, like editing wise, to clean it up. So like I'll take my piece, I'll take what I put together, and I have a blueprint that I've taken from, and thankfully for John for publishing it. He posted the Stansberry editorial. These are things that I just wish when I was at Agora that they gave me and taught me how to be like a good editor, a good writer. Like they don't teach you. All of a sudden they just put a camera on you and like you got to be good at reading the prompter, and you got to be exciting. I'm like, but I have good trades. Well, that doesn't really matter. you gotta be able. And if you don't get something to hit right away, then like you said, you kind of just stick around for a little bit and then eventually fade off. So what I took from the Stansberry editorial, I had AI go through all that insight of taking what's kind of like the best practices of a newsletter. So I take my piece that I write. I have AI. I have a bot that I created to overlook that as a kind of like a editorial chief, make sure that everything's in there. If there's fixes that are needed, then make those fixes, and then I publish. So it's a couple extra steps in there, but if you think about Agora, of how many people that you had to work with to hand off a piece of content, I could be that person that writes it, but I also have AI that can be those people to help me and then publish it a lot quicker. So it doesn't have to change hands so often, and I can publish a lot quicker and get things done a lot faster.
Yeah,
so it's been helpful.
Looking at your articles on Wired, Observer, WanCore, about how you write it. So how long did it take? Like Morgan, I don't know if you're around during the mastermind when Morgan was giving a demonstration, Busby, about how he created AI to talk in the guru's voices. I don't know if you saw that. Mm-hmm. But how long did it take for you to build an AI to basically if you're writing ideas, but then AI to then improve it, how long did it take for you to just build that AI out?
I've been working on AI for over a year, like working with it. The language models change, so you kind of have to change the prompts. But every iteration gets better. You just kind of have to understand how it, you have to be able to tweak your prompt and tweak and give it feedback of what you exactly want. So I have specifics of previous writing that I have that I train it on voice, voice, tone, who we're talking to, and it's not perfect. It's better than good. It helps you get a lot done, but you still have to be able to understand some of the nuances that it's going to do. It hallucinates a lot. You have to be able to catch it. So, like if I wasn't an options expert, it would put stuff in there that is completely wrong. So you have to be knowledgeable on that aspect of like, yeah, that's not correct.
And then do you get your pictures? Like I'm just looking at your Substack right now. Do you get your pictures from AI as well, or where do you get those pictures from?
Yep. I use Grok for that. So I use Grok for the AI generation of those images.
These are pretty cool.
Yeah, Grok does pretty good. I mean, it's
How do you spell that for everybody?
Grok is through X, Grok. So that's the AI for, that's Musk's AI. It's right built into there. For image generation, it's one of the better ones. So I use that specifically for that. So for my writing, what I use, ChatGPT, I have a bot created, or I use Claude.
Cool.
Which is Anthropic.
And then how big is your team right now that you've expanded so much?
Mostly me. I have a couple other people freelancing, but it's mostly me.
Wait, hold on.
And I've created bots for customer support.
Wait, hold on. Let me just get this call real quick. Hold on. Okay. So to go back to it, so what does your team currently consist of?
Mostly me. I have a few freelancers, but mostly me. I've created bots for different things like customer support and different things. I need to bring on more people because I'm growing. But
do you hear that? He wants to hire. I know Agora has lost a lot of good quality people. What are you currently looking for?
I'm open to all positions. I mean, I'm growing pretty substantial. This year is going to be a good year, and it's all because of Substack. I mean, really, it's really changed my business. It's changed my life. I changed the whole name because I purposely did that because it's, as an owner, you focus on your own self, you don't focus on your own business, and it's not going to allow me to get distracted on easy money opportunities that happened before with different publishers. So, this Substack has allowed me to focus more specifically on me, my franchise, my business, and growing it from there and controlling distribution, because that's the most important. That's what I learned. You can have good trades, you can have good editorial, you can have all the things, but if you're just not the focal point, you're just not going to get distribution. And that's one thing that Substack allowed me to get is distribution.
So go back to, because a lot of people will watch this interview like, oh, John's community. Specifically, what do you want to hire? Like who you need? You don't need copywriters, right?
I do need a copywriter.
So you need a copywriter. You need salespeople.
Yep.
What else? People are watching this interview. What do you need?
Well, I probably need some help on marketing, at least something helping on the writing aspect of it, and copywriting, good ideas. It's all really about, I mean, that's the thing I learned. It's all about good ideas. So writing, marketing, copywriting, the kind of those beginning aspects of it. One of the publishers, my publisher when I was at Agora, said, if you're going to do this on your own, there's 3 people that you need. You need marketing, you need a guru, and you need a copywriter. So
yeah, that's what I mean. I always say to create a publishing company, it really is a guru, a marketer. Yeah, I mean, and the money behind it. I mean, money or a list behind it, and then that's really all it takes. I mean, there's some really talented, copywriters that are, in between jobs or not with Agora currently right now, because obviously Agora has shut down Legacy, and Money Map doesn't exist anymore. So there's a lot of really good talent out there. Do you, when I talked to, when John had an interview with Linda at Substack a while ago, in terms of Substack's either customer service or helping you with the platform, are you integral and you talk to them a lot, or are you kind of just like learning, like how'd you, in every industry or every platform, you look at like an Instagram, you look at a YouTube, you look at like a TikTok, there's almost like ways to crack the code, right? Is it just all trial and error, or did like they help you out as you were growing, or like how did you figure out to do what you did?
I would say it's consistency, understanding the platform, but keep talking to them specifically. They have support, but it's not like you can call them up. I think Linda has an email specifically that, she doesn't share publicly, but with our group. As for them helping you, the platform helps you by the ability of other people sharing, and you get those leads. Like I said, I had most of them, I get leads every day from people sharing, but then there's some that I get like 100 or 200 from people sharing. So like a couple of weeks ago, I talked about when Trump made a pivot, there's a secret hand. People love that. There's the secret, it was talking about the bond market and how,
secret hand that forced Trump to fold today.
Yeah, I got a couple hundred leads from that specifically, new leads just from people sharing it. Notes are big on the platform. So Substack is about writing. And if you write and you do it consistently and you have engaging and interesting editorial, people will share it and they love to share it. As for Substack, like support wise, they don't, they give you access to the platform to help you specifically grow it. They're not going to give you so much insight of that.
Got it. All right, we got about 15 minutes of questions. So, I wanted you mostly on this interview to talk about Substack because, like I said, I feel like you've done something that is different and innovative that people out there haven't figured out. I don't think Agora's figured it out. I don't think Motley Fool's figured it out. So in terms of, mostly all geared to Substack questions, you started Substack a year ago, correct?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. If you had to start Substack from scratch, knowing what you know today, what would you have done differently?
Yep. Good question. I've had this a couple different times, especially some people in FMS, some other smaller, publishers like me. I mean, you can ask them. I've encouraged them to go on Substack. That's how much I believe in it. Just to get, again, it's about distribution. You can have your own little list, and if you have that, that's great. But you're not getting. How are you getting traffic to it? Unless you go and you have an offer that you can run direct traffic to it, then sure. But to grow your list, you're going to have to grow it differently, and that's with content marketing. And there's no better platform than Substack to grow your content marketing part of it. But it's that consistency. It's writing about stuff, and it took me, honestly, the longest time to understand that it's not about my trades. It's not about me. It's about the reader. It's about them. I mean, honestly, it took me years to really get past my own ego, my own insecurities and so forth, and understand it's not about me. It's about the reader and about them. And once you can get that hook in them, and they know and they believe, they're just going to continuously read and also share as well. And that's what really helped me on Substack. The other thing too that is new on Substack that's helping with growth is what's called notes. Notes are kind of like, I would say like almost like X posts, but it's mostly on the platform that people are already on the platform, they're engaging, and they can see these little tidbits. I'm experimenting with them, but early on, they're getting a lot of engagement. I don't know how much engagement that's leading to people joining, subscribing, because on Notes, they have a little, so if you're watching on Notes here, on Substack, you see Notes, and it has like a little subscribe button that they can subscribe right away. Because they're already on the platform, they don't have to re-enter their email. So automatically, they press that button and it's subscribed right away.
And I just got it now. I just subscribed.
So to answer your question, it's consistency and also having something interesting to write about. And that's the hard thing. Writing about your MACD or writing about a VWAP, I mean, people, you're going to get some interest of that, but that's not what people really want. If you see what really works on Substack, it's just the simple, I say simple, but it's the editorial, it's the stories. It's all what this business is about. It's the stories. It took me so long to realize that. It's like, you gotta tell stories. You gotta be engaging. You gotta talk about things that you think are not that interesting, but how to make them interesting.
So, and so when I started my business, I got a lot of my initial flow from Twitter. I would literally tweet 500 times a day. People in my industry that do unusual option activity, I have no problem saying it. It was the Nigerians. I'd follow all the Nigerians followers, and hopefully they'd follow me back because they liked what I had to say. But so do you also, like when I started Substack, do you comment on other like high level subscribers things? Do you try to get traction with other interaction on the Substack platform, or is that not really a thing?
You reach out to other people that have Substacks and try to do collaborations. So the difference between those platforms, every platform is different. So going back to X, so same thing. I had a lot of traction and followers early on Twitter. However, I didn't have their email address. Also, the algorithm controls your visibility. You go on Instagram. Instagram is the same way. If you can understand the algorithm and how to create content to get reach, it's great. But again, you don't control the distribution. The distribution's by the algorithm. If you understand the algorithm, great. If you don't, and you have how many followers and you're not creating content that's going to be distributed to them, you just don't have any control. Substack's different. You have an email. It goes to their email and then also on the platform. It's completely different than any other platform out there, and you have control over it. And it also helps, other people that have Substacks as well are more willing to share your content and more collaborations as well, which is important. So like I, for instance, have sent Gary Baldwin, I've sent him hundreds of free leads by recommending his Substack.
Is his pretty big or no?
I think he's got about 20,000. He's got a decent size amount. Doomberg, I was recommending him. I don't think he didn't need my recommendation, but I sent him like hundreds. He never recommended mine, but I stopped recommending him. But yeah, I mean, it's collaboration as well. If someone wanted to come on mine, which I'm open to it, you want to come on and write something that's interesting that I can publish, I will tag your byline and you can add your byline into the content. So you can say, hey, this is Andrew Keene, this is Insight and so forth, and then you can have your own little opt-in on the Substack to be able to capture names as well. But it's no secret sauce per se. It's just consistency and getting momentum and compounding it.
Well, if you look and you said, like, let's say you have like 330K. If you broke it, you said you've been on Substack for 2 years, correct?
Yep.
Break it down. Where were you at it? Like Buffett didn't come rich until he was like 54, right? Where were you at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? And where was like the huge, like, where were you at 3 months? 3 months in. How many followers did you have?
3 months in, it was still so early. I mean, I was getting a little bit of traction. I didn't start getting really big traction until this past year. So it just started compounding and growing, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like a tipping point. It's just like, wow, that's a good amount. I've also I have other things too that bring in, bring in emails as well. I bring in, when someone's on Instagram, I have an automation to capture their email that goes into Substack to capture it as well. So I've learned that those different platforms as well of understanding how to use algorithm. I have theme pages that have millions of views as well. So it's using other platforms to feed into your Substack as well. That helps that snowball effect. Because once you start growing, people start noticing and they're like, oh wow, that's a good content, and they start sharing with their own audience as well. And it's just going and building it from there and just having that consistency and that snowball.
One thing that I'm trying to do, so there's a website called FeedSpot where I can buy like email addresses for podcasters, Instagram influencers, TikTok, in the trading space, and YouTube. And I'm trying to like cold call, reach out to them. So I have a guy that I'm currently talking to right now. He has 400,000 subs on YouTube. So I've talked to him before. He's kind of cracked the code on organic YouTube. And I asked him if he's would he be willing to work with me and grow my YouTube. Because from my point of view, I don't want to learn this shit. I don't. Like, I mean, more props to you, Mazel, you learned Substack. Would you be willing, hypothetically speaking, me or anybody that watches this, to take on basically a client and grow their Substack and take, you know, a monetization or lead share or something like that?
And I'm open to different stuff, but I mean, I don't see myself as an expert. I told you that before we got on, or, you know, even before. Like, I honestly believe it's just, I just got lucky. Substack was early. I saw Substack for what it is. I mean, there's another competitor.
Here's the thing. It's like Steve Jobs with computers, right? Or like, you know, or anything like that. Steve Jobs, did he get lucky? Yes, he happened to be in the right place at the right time, but computers were hot and he's really into it, right? So you might have come across Substack as dumb luck, but now you have just mastered it. As you said, you have your AI helping to write articles, you have AI helping with your pictures, you have your Instagram feed into the Substack. Those are all things that you can't really learn except through trial and error, right? So I think you're giving yourself not enough props on it. So, you know, obviously in this ecosystem, as I always am like the MC of the event, I always say we all need each other, right? And, you know, we need to work together to help each other. Would you be willing to work with anybody to grow their Substack, basically?
I've told a couple different people, you start a Substack, you start publishing good content, I'll recommend you. And I can send you obviously hundreds of leads to get started. I've told a couple different people. And a lot of people are like, well, I want to go to the other one. And I'm like, no, don't go to the other one. The other platform that people prefer. I'm not going to promote them. It starts with it's a buzz and a hive.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people like that one. Substack is where it's at. I from the top of the top of the mountaintop. Substack is where you want to be, especially right now. It's still early. There's still opportunity. And if you're a smaller publisher and you could really just grow. I mean, I heard John say this before, like $1 million business just from your Substack. The churn is going to be a lot higher, and you're going to have like a good business for 6-8 months. But then that churn is going to hit in, and you're going to get a big pop. But then it's going to start to fade off, and it's hard to feed that machine the right way. It'll level out, but you can, if you just start publishing on Substack and tapping into the marketplace there, it's completely different than any other platform, especially for what we do, which is editorial based, that you're going to get content and distribution on. YouTube is great, completely different marketplace, different market, great evergreen. But if you're writing and your content is about selling writing, Substack is where you want to be. It's the easiest platform. If you join and you have some good content, I will recommend your Substack.
And like I know internally, you know, average customers, 45 to 60 Christian from the South, semi-retired. On Substack, you know, you talked about churn being really high. What the people that are signing up, what is their demographic, or what do they look like? Are they younger? Are they older? Like, where do they skew? They like Trump, they hate Trump.
What I find on Substack is obviously the people I take from Instagram are a little bit more, they're like 45-ish. You're a little bit different. The people that I see on Substack specifically are almost like Grandpa Kurt, a little bit younger. And the reason why is because Substack is seen as this free speech platform. And it fits right into the demographic, the persona of our reader. They go to Substack because they don't want to be censored. Substack early on has been known not to censor. They pushed back early on in 2020, 2021, that they're not going to censor speech and so forth. So it's become, I wouldn't say like a Rumble, but a sophisticated Substack, or a sophisticated platform for publishing geared to more openness of uncensored speech, not crazy speech, but just more of that platform. And people love it. They consume it, they sit on it. And I do find that they're a little bit more, taking them from a monthly to the traditional was a little bit rough because they're so used to that monthly and they have control and they know that. So it's a little bit of a nuance. You just have to give them a reason, and it's a traditional reason. Hey, this free report or these bonus reports and so forth. It's no different if you take what we know from publishing on the financial side of it and just overlay on a new platform and understand, like Substack, it's going to be, you're going to have great success. It's still early. A lot of people are coming on to it. It's great branding as well, because people, even on, you listen on TV, hey, this is so-and-so that's on Substack. It's so-and-so, Greg Greenwald. He's got a completely different vertical, but he publishes on Substack. But every time it's like, hey, this person's on Substack. This person's on Substack. It's like Zoom. You don't say, hey, I'm going to go on this conference call. I'm going to go on a Zoom. So it's the branding that helps as well. And they control a lot of it. I mean, it's so much easier as well when I publish on here and it goes to email and it also posts, because it's an extra step that you would have to do on your own, that you would have to publish a post, take that post, and then email it. So there's a lot of things that help that Substack does that makes it a lot easier just to get your content out there. It's just a lot less friction. So for you, Andrew, it's just, you gotta write. You gotta get someone to write. You gotta get someone to write, and you just gotta know who you're writing to. And as long as you're writing every day, and it could be about your trips. I mean, we started on this in the beginning. The fact of like how many places you go to and you're trading. I mean, just think of Tim, how he uses his Instagram, and just use that for writing and talk about all these trips that you're doing. But again, not about you, about the lifestyle that this person may want, that they can live through you. I learned that through Joe Schaefer. People live vicariously through you. They're voyeurs. If you can give them that voyeur, that outlet, that's what Garrett Baldwin does. He does a really good job with giving people insight to what, like, his life, but also keeping it on this theme. He calls it the money printer, of this main theme of like the printing of money. That's the main theme, but he has these little insights that he provides in there with his, about his family, his wife, his kid, and so forth. So you feel like you're getting enough insight, but it's not all about them, because at the end of the day, the person's reading for themselves.
Okay, so I want to keep this in an hour, so we're at an hour and 1 minute, which is perfect timing. So I think, the big thing when people watch this interview, they might want to contact them. Do you want to give out your email? Do you not want to give out your email? Do you want them? You're on the Discord channel, right?
I'm on Discord. It's Josh at joshbelanger.com.
Okay, so there you go. If you guys have any questions about Substack or you want to get in contact with Josh, you can email him, josh at joshbelanger.com, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Appreciate your time so much, buddy. That's amazing what you've done with the Substack. I appreciate you sharing. John will appreciate you sharing as well. I'm going to push.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to text him and tell him to get this thing out. When I did an interview with him, he took 9 months to get my interview out. So I appreciate the time. If I have any questions, I'll text you about Substack as well.
I mean, do you blame him, though? Come on.
No, I don't blame him. Someone's like, I saw your interview. I'm like, I did it a year ago. Thank you for your time, Josh. I appreciate you so much. And then we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, later.